This is the Thermalright Frozen Warframe 360 Black Edition. This is an AIO cooler and I'm going to unbox it and show you. So let's have a look. Hello and welcome back to Nelly's Nerd Cave, and today I'm looking at this AIO which I've purchased for my test rig so that all my test rigs have the same cooling capabilities and they all have the same style of cooling on there. This one, however, is a little bit different. It's relatively cheap, so this one was 76 of our Great British pounds, and it's not been out that long as far as I understand. I can't find an exact date, but when I do I will pop that on the screen so that you can see. This one is a 360mm AIO. It has an aluminium radiator, it has 320mm fans, and it also has an Acertech style water block, but it also has something rather unusual. You can see on the picture that we've got a screen. However, there's something unique about this particular screen. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a test rig. I'm going to do some benchmarking with that test rig using some of the benchmarking tools that I have to my disposal. I'm going to first of all start off with the standard Intel stock cooler, one of these beauties that we're so used to. So today I'm going to set up a test bench, and that test bench is going to comprise of an i5 7600K. This is 3.9 gigahertz processor. It's got 4 cores and 4 threads. It has a maximum TDP of 91 watts and is socket 1151. This was released in 2017, so it makes this a 7-year-old processor. And what I'm then going to place it with is I'm going to stick it with this Asus H110MA with an M.2 slot. This will hopefully be quite nice just to see how it works. This is the kind of the newest board that I actually possess, so therefore this is the board I'm going with. I'm also going to be utilizing 16 gigabytes of Corsair Vengeance LPX RAM, and with this I'm not going to set any XMP, I'm not going to set anything like that. It's just going to be the standard just installed clock speeds. And from there I'm then going to do some testing. I'm going to test the thermal capacity of the Intel cooler. Then we're going to see if temperatures kind of normalize or become better with the AIO and see what that's particularly like. So without further ado, let's get on. So here we go with the unboxing, and this is the Thermalright Frozen Warframe, and this box is really good. It's really nicely laid out. It's got embossing on the front, and it's a little bit more glossy where you've got the picture. We've also got some silver and gold embellishments on here. Now Thermalright also do this wonderful thing where they actually put an authentic tag, and then you just scratch off this bit and you get a number that you can then put into their website. Their website will then tell you whether it's a genuine one or whether somebody else has repackaged it, etc., or something like that. So let's get into the box. Very simple. Flip up like most of them are, and then we have this separate section. Now in here we have the normal user manual. And this particular user manual is in lots of different languages, as we always get them. I think it's in Chinese or Japanese and English. It should be very straightforward to follow. We have a box. I'm assuming this is full of all the little bits and pieces. So it looks like we have an extension for the fans, which is daisy chaining them, which we'll have a look in more detail shortly. And it looks like we have all the hardware to make this particular AIO function, which I'll pop over there. And then we have the main event, and here we have the water block and the pump, as well as the radiator within here. So let me just remove the box so that we have a bit more space and we can see what's what. So here we have the water block. Let me just arrange this so it's easy and take off the plastic. So this one is not like others. It is very Acertech style. Whoops. Hopefully that's not broken, because I'm stupid like that. So here we have the pump power. Now the motherboard I'm going to attach this to doesn't have a separate pump header, so what I'm going to have to do is, unfortunately, I am going to have to use one of these breakouts. So I've got a fan splitter that goes from a SATA socket to 3 fan headers, and I'm going to use that just to make sure the pump is functioning and it's 100%. We have fantastic, lovely braided tubes, and we also have the separators for the tubes, which is also really nice. Now these ones actually have a place if you want to be really, really cool and sneaky, so that you can actually put the cabling in and keep your cabling all nice and tidy. So you can see that we can pop the cable in there, he says, with one hand. Trust me, you can put the cable, there we go, you can put the cable in there and make it look a bit tidy and run your cables up the middle of the actual pipe clamps. This is nice to have. I've had AIOs where I've had to buy them separately just to make sure that they stay in a nice neat order, and it looks really good. You'll notice that this is accented in gold, and it's not just a flat gold, it's quite shiny, it's nice. It has 2 mounting headers, and we also have a 2.4 inch LCD on the top. Okay, so this LCD is really quite quirky because you can actually remove it, and removing this allows you to be able to pop it anywhere in the case, and it's just held on with 4 little magnets on the back. So we can literally pop that on there. It also allows us that if we find that the orientation of this is incorrect, we can then change it around to how we wish. As far as I understand, you can actually do this within the software that comes with this particular AIO, but it's just a nice thing to be able to move this around if you want, and also means that if you're a bit like me who likes things in a nice order and likes to have things all showing off, having your logos in the correct orientation is always nice, and I always like to have that. So let's get to the radiator. So the radiator is a 360mm rad. It's all aluminium, and it comes with the pre-attached Thermalright fans. Now these Thermalright fans are a maximum of 2000 RPM, and they're just standard 120mm fans. Apparently they do 70.84 cubic feet a minute of air pressure with 2.63mm of H2O. They do all have PWM plugs, but they also have daisy chaining as well, so I can literally daisy chain one to the other and go to one fan header. However, they've also given us an extension which also allows us to daisy chain all these together as well. So when we pop this out, we can see that we've got the 3 very short daisy chained plugs for our fans. It's really very nice. Now, I haven't tested this yet, obviously, I've just literally got it out of the box. So what else do we get in there other than the actual cable for the daisy chaining? So what else do we get in the box? We also get our bag of hardware. And now with this hardware, what we can do is hopefully within here we should have a range of different types of socket that we can connect to. But first of all, we get the USB-C. I don't know if you can see that, but it's the USB-C to a USB header, and that is for connecting your LCD screen directly to the motherboard. I suppose if you were using it outside of the actual case, you could just use a standard USB-C cable. We have two different coloured spacers. We have one for Intel and we have one for AMD. So this particular cooler actually does AM4, AM5. It also does all the standard Intel 1150s, the 1700, etc. But it also does some of the more unusual sizes too, such as the server ones of 2011, etc. So in here we also get the 1200 spacers. So these are the spacers for the 1200. We get some very nice thumb screws and another bag of what look like the spacers that we use. Oh, these are for the 2000. So these are the 2000 spacers for your cooler as well. And these are nice little thumb screws. We get the screws to actually attach all our hardware to our backplate. Here we have our backplate for our Intel, and you'll notice it's nicely color coded, and it's actually got these wonderful, and I don't know if you can see that in the light. Let's have a look, see if we can get a bit of light on there. Oh yeah, maybe there. But it's actually labeled so that we can use the 1150X or the 1700, etc. And all we do is we just move that down for 1150X, and we'll do that for all four of these because the processor I'm using is an 1151. So that's the back plate. In this little bag we also get the smallest amount of thermal paste that I have ever seen. We also get the mounting brackets for an Intel cooler, and we also get the mounting hardware for an AMD cooler, which is really nice to have within this, so that we can literally just mount absolutely everything how we need it, and it's fantastic. So we've got all our mounting hardware there. So let's see how this actually fits together, shall we? Okay, so let's install this cooler onto the actual motherboard itself. So I am using an i5. This is the i5 7600K. This is 1151. So we'll start as we normally do with installing our CPU, making sure that it's firmly installed, and then removing this plastic bit, saving it for later because it always comes in useful. So I've got the mounting hardware out. I actually need the bag that's talked about as a 1200. I also need the bag of screws, which are thumb screws on the top, and I also need the back plate, which is already configured, like I showed you earlier, into the 1156. I also need the two Intel risers that go in between there, and all I've got to do is flip over the motherboard and then pop these through the four holes on the motherboard and turn over, and there we go. That's that section undone. Now what we do is we take our spacers. Really important that we use the right ones, because remember, there were a set of red ones and a set of blue ones. The blue ones are purely for the 1700 chipset. We pop these on like this, and then all we do is we take our actual mounting brackets that we've had before, and we've picked out so that we can then use these and space them across. Now, as far as I understand, these go across here like so. Now what you'll notice is that there are two spacings on here. There's one for your 1700, so I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, you've got two spacings. You've got one for the 1150X and one for the 1700 chipsets. So we pop those on. They do only kind of fit in one place. Then we get our second bag. He says not being able to open it, which is always typical. And we lose half our screws all over the floor. And we take the little thumb screws off the top here, and we just screw these down, which is really simple. This is one of the simplest coolers that I've ever placed onto a motherboard. It's very, very simple, and this is the first time I've actually done it. So you're seeing this exactly how I'm seeing this. There's no difference at all. I am literally doing this for you. I'm literally taking it directly out of the box, and I'm screwing it all together just as you guys would at home. And to be fair, because these are thumb screws, it makes it so easy and so nice to actually put together, because that's it, done, fantastic. Don't need to tighten them up anymore, maybe a few little quarter turns. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install the SSD, and this is a Micron 512 gigabyte SSD. This has already got Windows 10 preloaded on here with the benchmarking tools that I'm going to use, as well as some games, but we're not looking at games at this point, we're looking at cooling capacity. So I'm going to be using some CPU intensive benchmarks to make sure that they are all functioning. I'm also using the Corsair LPX DDR4 two 8 gig sticks, and these are going to be, what are these again? These are 3200 megahertz, so we shall get these installed as well. And I don't know if you can see here, but the clearance from the bracket is really nice. It's really good. There's plenty of room for bigger types of RAM. You don't really have any clearance issues, which is good to know, because sometimes the RAM and the RAM slots is very, very close to the socket itself, and sometimes even just having a box cooler can be a pain in the bum. So it's relatively straightforward and easy to set up. So what we'll do next is we'll take our thermal paste, which came with the packet. We shall pop a pea size on there. It's a little bit small for a pea, but let's put a bit more on. There we go. And then what we'll do is I'm going to first of all take this off, because I don't want to scratch the LCD screen at all. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, remembering that little piece of plastic on the bottom, because sometimes I forget, and peeling this off is absolutely brilliant and fantastic, because sometimes I've had these where you've peeled these off and you've had some residue on there, which you then needed to get isopropyl alcohol and clean off. This one has left no residue at all. It's really, really nice. And what I'm going to do is then I'm going to line this up, moving this around so that I can get in the right place, and hopefully that should just screw into place on there. Let's see. And what you don't notice about this is that these particular screws here have little springs, so that we can tension the actual cooler down correctly, and it just springs up if it's a bit too tight. We can then take our LCD screen, and then it just goes, and magnets on the top. It looks absolutely fantastic. It's great. So what I'm going to do now is I am now going to get a power supply, power it all up, and let's see what the cooling performance is like. and then we shall have a look at some baselines from the Intel CPU cooler to see what the differences are between those. Okay, so all ready to go. Let's just do a power on. So what I've done is I've also installed the GeForce GTX 1650 as well. Let's see, do we power on? It looks like the little screen has come on, which is good. So what we should get is we should get a little splash screen. I can see that the screen is actually glowing, so it must be on. Oh, now that's a little bit of an issue. Okay, so I think I need to kind of fix that. So I'll be back.
One eternity later.
Okay, so after a little bit of troubleshooting, I found out that it's the silly dodgy cable that goes in for the USB that comes all the way around. It is a USB Type 2 to USB-C, and we can see that the screen is nicely lit and it's displaying things. So we actually have a displayed time and date as well as a temperature and CPU usage. Okay, so this is the software that you actually get with the Thermalright Warframe, and it's quite intuitive actually. It's nice and easy to use. You can literally just click on a theme and it changes the theme to the relevant thing that you require. Some of them are very, very basic. You've got temperature of the CPU, you've got the usage, etc. You can add other things like CPU clock, CPU usage. Then you can get into animated images. These ones look pretty cool. Some of them are really nice. I quite like the ones with the hexagons. That one's a little bit distracting, but yeah, it seems to work well. It's showing the temperatures of your CPU and the date. Again, pretty cool. Looks okay. So then what you can do is within this software, you can then go into the little sliders button here and you can change things like take the date and time off, show system info. You can even add system info such as the CPU usage, and it will then rearrange the whole screen so that everything's a little bit weird, and then you have to rearrange everything so that you can then get whatever you need in there. It's pretty cool. It's relatively straightforward and easy to use. I think for a test bench, which is the use case I'm having it for, it's going to be really, really nice to use just so that I can see thermal straight away, see what's going on. Again, I can reset that back to how it was, which is really good. Again, it's pretty cool. And now I'm just going to cut over and we'll have a look at what it looks like on the actual CPU itself. And the screen looks really amazing. So here's a shot of it actually on the CPU, actually functioning. Really good. It looks really nice. It's very clear. It's not the best. The blacks aren't black, but it does look nice. And it looks like something that would be very, very useful. Again, I'm in the UK, so the dates and times will probably need jiggling around a little bit because they're not even in American times. They're in others. But again, we can go back into that menu and we can change it to something a little bit more UK friendly. So there we have it, the Thermalright Frozen Warframe 360 AIO. A really nice cooler. Now I'm going to put on some so now I'm going to do some thermals and see how that copes. Okay, so there we have it. Here is the Thermalright Frozen Warframe 360 radiator with built-in pump, and as you saw from some of the results there, it kept the CPU, albeit a 7th generation Intel, at around about 47 degrees. That was its peak. Compare it to the Intel stock cooler, where it had a peak of 74 degrees Celsius. This has done really well. I did notice, however, when I took this cooler off, that the top section here was very warm. It wasn't hot, it was very warm. Now I'm just thinking, did that come from the screen being on, or is that from the pump? I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure once I start using this for testing, and through time we'll see, because I'm not going to put the screen on the top all the time, because this would be useful just as a little heads up display somewhere, which would be really good. However, really good performance, absolutely fantastic. The fans were very silent and I didn't hear them at all. So I would recommend this for somebody who's starting up, not for somebody who's taking this dead serious and wants the best of the best. It's a good starting point. It's very cheap. It's about 70 odd pounds. You do get it in ARGB as well if you wish. I got black because it's going on my test bench and I don't really need ARGB. It's just for testing purposes. So all in all, a fantastic set of a fantastic cooler, not a set of coolers, but a fantastic cooler. Does what it says on the tin, has a great display, and all in all, fantastic. So if you've enjoyed what I've done and you'd like to support my channel, please just like and subscribe, the link below, and I will see you next time.